In our previous units, we have known how the banks operate, what are the regulations that the banks are under. Now we're going to talk about an interesting topic that the commercial banks or the normal banks can make money. How does banks create money? In order to understand this, let me remind you that the banks actually is mandated to keep part of its deposits in cash. This part of its deposits that it has to keep in cash is determined by the reserve ratio, which actually will be obliged or determined by the central bank. So this ratio of the deposit that they have to keep it in cash is called the required reserve ratio, which is a percentage of the deposits that have to be kept in cash and they cannot be loaned. So any deposit to the bank is divided into two parts: the reserve and excess reserve. Reserves have to be kept in cash and excess reserves are allowed to be loaned. Let's take an example. So if a bank is to receive 1 million Egyptian pound as a deposit and the reserve ratio is 10%, so this 1 million will be divided into 100,000 pounds as a reserve, and the rest 900,000 will be excess reserve. Now we are ready to know how does banks makes money. Let's take an example. So here we have the required reserve ratio is 25%, and our friend in here has made a deposit of $100,000. So what will the bank make? The bank will actually keep 25% of it as cash, and the 75% will be in a loan. So we have here one deposit and one loan. The new loan will turn into a second deposit, and this deposit will be treated in the same way. 25% will go in reserve, the rest will be in loan, and the new loan will be turned into a fourth deposit, and this deposit will actually generate the fourth loan and the fourth increase in the reserve. As you can see, the value of loan is keep going down as we actually put aside part of the new deposit in the shape of cash. By the end of this round, we can see that the 100,000 deposit has turned into $400,000 of deposits. What happened here is a money creation, or what we call it the deposit multiplication. By the normal function of banks are able to double and to actually increase or to multiply its deposits. So how much is this multiplying? If we take a look over our example, we can see that the $100,000 has turned into $400,000. So it has increased 4 times, and this will lead us to the law of the deposit multiplier. The deposit multiplier law will say that the amount which increased the money reserves is multiplied to calculate the increase in bank deposits. It's calculated simply by 1 over the required reserve ratio, which in our case was 25%. So 1 over 25% is 4. If the required reserve ratio is 10%, it will be 1 over 10%, and it is 10 times, which means that each deposit will be multiplied 10 times. So if it's 50%, this means that the multiplier is 2. So the higher the required reserve ratio, the lower is the multiplier, and the lower the required reserve ratio, the higher is the multiplier. So in this chapter, we know about the definition of money, the functions of money, what do we mean by liquidity, how does the banks function, and how does it affect the money creation. In our next units, we're going to talk about the government policy. We're going to talk about a monetary policy and how does the government affect the economy by changing the quantity of money in circulation. See you then.